Hello everyone. It is Thursday. We're not doing it on Wednesday because we wanted to allow people to, watch the inauguration and do all that stuff. So today we're talking to Guglielmo Winery and they just joined. So we're gonna wait for them to request to go live and we'll be set. All right. George is joining us. Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. Can you see me good?
I can. Great. It looks like you're in the vineyard.
Well, I'm in an area that overlooks the vineyard. I thought that would be appropriate since we are at the Guglielmo Winery.
So, can you state the name of the winery again? It's spelled different.
The name of the winery is Emilio Guglielmo Winery. You kind of roll over that second G.
Guglielmo.
Yes.
Very good. I know I spell it differently every time.
I want to say it in English, it's Williams.
Okay. Well, George, I'm very grateful that you joining us today because you're further on in your journey than the previous people.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
So I'm excited to talk about some of the differences there because you have so much history to share. So first off, let's start with your first experience with wine. I know the winery's been there since 1925. I don't know when you were born, but go ahead and jump on in.
Well, my grandfather bought the property here in 1925 with grapes on it and did make wine. And if we realize 1925 to 1933, Prohibition was in existence. Mm-hmm. So he actually made wine in the basement of the house. There was actually a trap door that went from the front bedroom to the basement. And I mean, he made not 10,000 gallons of wine, maybe a 50, 100, 200 gallons of wine. He was subsidizing his livelihood. He worked at the tannery. He worked at a tannery hauling hides from San Francisco's butcher town to the wharf and to the tannery and then to the wharf. So, I mean, I can keep going on history. So you want me to stop on it.
Later.
Long story short, so I was born and raised right here.
Okay.
My grandparents lived in San Francisco. My dad was born in San Francisco. And they actually didn't move down here until after the war.
Okay.
Prior to that, it was down when he needed to come down and down. Okay. You know, we weren't as big as we are now, much smaller. The first building on the winery property where there were tanks put in was put in 1934, I believe. Okay. Ended December of 33. 1934, the first building went up. And okay. So I was born in San Jose, but was raised at the winery, born in 1947, and been at this property all my life.
Now, in let's say 44, when you were born, do you know what the winemaking climate was? I mean,
47. Yes.
How many wineries do you know were even around in California then?
Well, there were probably more prior to Prohibition, and then Prohibition came in, and of course wineries had to change path, whether they became selling juice or grapes or what have you. I would venture to say I can start with facts that when I graduated Fresno State College in 1969, there were maybe less than 200 wineries in the state of California.
Wow.
Okay, and most of them were in the interior valley, some in Santa Clara Valley. The commercial wine industry actually started in the Santa Clara Valley by Charles Lafranc, which is, if you relate to Almaden Winery, Almaden Vineyards, that was in San Jose, Los Gatos area, 1918.
I did not know that. So,
yes.
Not that I knew where it started in California, but that's really interesting. So Santa Clara is its own AVA.
Santa Clara Valley is now its own AVI, and that was pushed by Guglielmo Winery and Fortino Winery to develop that AVA.
Okay.
As a place of quality wine grapes. Yes.
And winery currently in your AVA, do you know the about?
In our AVA here,
Yeah.
probably maybe 30, possibly. Small to large, well,
Yeah.
we don't have it, yeah, small to medium size.
And so you guys have been you led the charge with some of your peers that are still around today.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Was that due to specific climates or soil, or why would the real push for that AVA at the time?
It was a time when people were becoming more educated on wine, more interested in wine. The younger generation, we felt it appropriate to create an AVA that would designate the Santa Clara Valley, which goes from county line to county line up to a certain altitude on the mountains on each side, and with specific climates, then different soil types within that AVA, and within the Santa Clara AVA, there are a couple other AVAs like San Ysidro and Santa Cruz Mountains, which part of their AVA is Santa Clara Valley. A few.
Sure. What I think is so interesting, so I'm in Watsonville. I'm literally 20 minutes from your winery because I've been there to take pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just over the hill, but that hill is significant. I don't know the actual elevation, but so I'm on the coastal side of the hill. You're on the inland side of the hill. And the result is, would you say at least 10 degrees, maybe 20?
Oh, yes. Yeah. We're probably, as the bird flies, maybe 20 miles from the ocean, I think. But the coast range, which the mountains you're talking about coming over, do give us the ability to pull some of that cool air in. If it comes around through the Salinas Valley into this way, through the Chittenden Pass, and even sometimes from the Bay Area. So in the middle of summer, we can wake up with fog covering the whole valley down here. So you get kind of temperature extremes where you're cool, and then it can get up to 90 degrees, and then you just wait for that coolness to come back in.
Yeah.
And we can see that fog creeping over the mountains towards the coast sometimes, just holding right on the mountains because it's hot over here, the fog is there. So it's very beautiful, as well as very advantageous for us growing grapes in the Santa Clara Valley.
Sure.
We are about in the same range of degree days, which is the way we have measuring the amount of sunshine and heat that grapes need to develop. So we are about in the same amount of degree days as Santa Elena.
Okay.
So Valley. They get the influence going that way, we get the influence coming this way.
Sure. So you're sitting with your back is in a vineyard. And so what grapes are you growing on the estate?
Behind me here is Merlot,
Okay.
which are relatively new. You got to realize when the winery was started all the way up till about 1970, we never made any varietal wines. It was all generic wines. We would call it Burgundy for a red, Sauterne for a white. Most of the people that drank wine, most of our customers were basically that ethnic group that grew up with wine, right at the table. French, Italian, Spanish, and it's just a way of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got out of school, we started our varietal program because that was the way the whole industry was going.
Okay.
And so we have expanded to include some. We just planted our first Cabernet about 10 years ago, so that's something new for us. Prior to that, we still have some old vine Zinfandel.
I was going to ask that.
Merlot is growing behind me, and we have Petit Syrah. We have a unique varietal called Granulino, and Granulino is a varietal that comes from the Piemonte area of Italy, where my grandfather immigrated from with my grandmother to the United States. And so we've kind of done that. We blended another part of our Cabernet block has a variety again from more central Italy called Sagrantino. And we do buy some outside varietals just to add to our Italian heritage type thing. We do a Sangiovese, we do a Nebbiolo, we do a Dolcetto, And this year, for the first time, we've done a white wine and Arnis, which again is, we kind of concentrate on that Piemonte area. These are varieties that, 30 years ago, 20, they were not in California.
Did your grandfather come with a vine in his pocket?
Oh,
Imagine it.
My father was not in the wine business in Italy. Okay. He was in the peasant business in Italy. I shouldn't say peasant. They were way up from the north.
Okay.
So it was more agrarian, where he had to live off the land. There was industry, but that was quite a distance away. He came to San Francisco in 1909, so there wasn't the industry that there is now. So he came here again to better himself and worked his way across the United States to San Francisco. And again, because of his Italian heritage, and at that time Italy had so many different dialects that were spoken, he came to an area with those type of people. Okay. And that type of people was the Piemonte people, which spoke the dialect Piemontese. And so okay. He didn't come here with grapevines. He got into the business as it became more and more advantageous as people were drinking more wine after Prohibition.
So you got out of Fresno, you said in
1969, I graduated.
Okay. So you started the single varietal program. What currently, is that still predominantly what you guys are doing? Or are you doing quite a few blends?
Yes. No. Prior to that, we did generic wines. I mean, we're bottling 10,000 gallons of generic wines a month in red, 10,000 gallons. In the 70s is when we had everybody drinking white. And then the French paradox came along. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And then everybody started drinking red. So we followed the pattern. When I was at Fresno is when you start to see the first, I think it was Concannon came out with a Petite Syrah. Well, we got Petite Syrah here. Maybe we should. And we fell right into that. Sure. All the varieties that we have here now were at one time used to make what we call our Burgundy, a nice rich red wine. About a year and a half old, we put it in the gallon, and then you were able to, a dinner wine, a food wine, And then as time went on and we started the varietal program in 1969, we made, because we have the grape, we made a little bit of everything. We made a Zinfandel. We made a Ruby Cabernet. We did have some Ruby Cabernet, which is kind of a lost variety today. We did Petite Syrah. We did a Granulino. And at that time, we also had a Semillon that we did. Actually, this Merlot that you see behind me was Semillon. Okay. And we grafted it over to Merlot when the red wine boom just started out. Sure. So, you follow the pattern. If you want to stay alive in the wine business today, you need to follow what the consumer wants out there. Sure. And varietal was the way to go. And we've come up with these little varietals like these Nebbiolo and Dolcetto because they're not in every grocery store. They're not in every market. You don't see Cabernet, of course, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Merlot are everywhere. So we've kind of evolved as the wine business has evolved in giving our customers something a little bit different than everybody else as we try.
Yeah. I mean, now the consumer, of course, is driving it, but if you have some little nuanced things that makes you interesting and
yeah, exactly.
Someone maybe want to join a wine club member or become a wine club member where maybe it's an exclusive offering or those kinds of things.
Yes.
So
periodically we do special blends. We started with a claret. A generic name again, claret. We started that back in the 70s when we had a lot of wine that was Zen, and we couldn't label it that because the percentages were different. So it was a nice wine, barrel aged, so we called it claret. And since then, we probably bottled about 20 different clarets. Okay. Every couple of years or so. We do unique things. We just released a wine from our old vine, Zinfandel. We call it Vigna Vecchia, which is old vine. And it's all made from head prune Zinfandel that was probably, it could have been there before my grandfather bought this property because It's right next to the property my grandfather bought, and there was another winery there called the Boleto Winery, and we ended up buying that in 1956.
Yeah.
So, unique things we do. We did that one. We did another couple other ones. Unique names with the varietal designation, percentages put on the label. To talk a little bit about the wine. So, yeah.
So, what's your today at the winery?
What's that?
Your title? What's your role now today?
I'm a winemaker, also president of Guglielmo Winery.
And how many? Do you have quite a few family members that work at the business?
Right now, I have my brother, who's my partner. We had another brother who unfortunately passed away last year. My brother has two of his daughters that are employed at the winery, and then my daughter, one of my daughters, is also does our FaceTime, whatever you call all those electronic.
Social media stuff?
No, I'm not the electronic. I went through school using a slide rule, no calculators. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Things have changed just in the past, 5 years, let alone since 1969 out of school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so since you have, come back from school, what was your production then? What's your production now? Do you remember?
Back then, we produced much more wine than we did now.
Oh.
We were selling house wines at restaurants. We delivered wine like a milkman to your home. When I got to college in 1970, and then my other brother, took the route from my dad. My dad started, and you had to buy 5 cases, and that case is not a 750. That case was gallons. So you're talking about 4 gallons of wine. You had to buy 5 cases for us to deliver to you. That's 20 gallons of wine. So you think people didn't drink wine back then? That's a lot of wine. Each one of those gallons back then is equivalent to about 5 750s today.
We got to bring that back. I like that.
Well, yes, but per capita consumption. You look at the ethnic groups that were buying most of this wine: French, Italian, Spain. Those are the biggest wine producers in the world.
Right.
France and Spain. They also were one of the most consumptious people of wine. I remember when I was in Fresno, France and Italy fought about who drank more wine, and it was around 18, 19 gallons per capita.
Yeah.
And if you look at where we are in the United States, I don't even think we're at 3 yet. Are you familiar with that number is? We're about 3.
I used to know that.
Yes. So, so the wine business has changed tremendously. Now we're bottling less wine, more varietal quality wines. The generic wine, as I say, we used to be a house wines at a lot of restaurants in San Francisco. And when you went to a restaurant, you ordered a craft of wine. It was $5 for a liter of wine. And today you don't spend that. You spend a considerable amount more.
Sure.
You're not drinking
The less volume.
Yeah, you're drinking a varietal now.
Higher price point.
There are a lot of changes, yes. And then within the wine business, of course, there's been a lot of tremendous changes as far as the ability of the winemaker to give you more of the quality that you're looking for. Tremendous changes in the last 10 years, we could say.
Is there one that stands out that you can reference?
Oh, just the ability now to buy, instead of having to buy a brand new barrel, oak inserts that we can insert in the barrel, which are pieces of oak, just like new oak, that are inserted in the barrel. And it gives you a little bit of a good surface area, and you're spending maybe $100 for that oak chain. It's a chain. It goes right through the bung of the barrel, and there's probably 10 segments in there. And so that's $100 versus a brand new barrel, which is $500 to $1,000.
And so is that like an oak chip kind of thing? I'm trying to visualize.
Same thing as oak chip. Oak chips are being used. They are extracting tannins from wine now that can be added to smooth wines down to give more body, to give more oak character to the wines. On these oak chains you can buy, it's the way they toast them in France, or we even get them from Australia. So you can get, well, this is going to give you more vanilla characteristics. Oh, this one is a different toast. It's going to give you more chocolate characteristics. So
much more control too, right? I mean, it's not putting on a certain barrel.
Yeah. So of course, it enables you to keep your wine at a modest price and not have to spend a tremendous amount of money on new barrels every year.
Yeah. And what's your winemaking style? Are you going, heavier mouthfeels, or do you have the whole gamut?
Well, you have to realize we have the whole gamut because we make everything from Petit Syrah, which is probably our heaviest wine, then Zinfandel, Cabernet, Merlot, and all the other varieties that I've talked to you about, plus Chardonnay. So we have a uniqueness of us is the fact that we have all these varietals.
Okay.
So if you don't like a heavy wine, we can steer you to something that's more in line with maybe your tastes.
So do you stay pretty true to like the varietal characters?
We try the best we can. I think that's very important that we want to do here. Yeah. Varietal characters. Everything we produce is dry in the Italian style, which is dry and a food wine, more a food wine. We do a little bit of white Zinfandel for those that are a little more on the fruitier side. We do some sweet wines, not much, but we do what we call an Erudita port, which is made from some Portuguese varietal grapes, barrel aged, and then we put it in a silk screen bottle. It's uniqueness, and it's a very nice port.
I love.
Yeah, so we'll have to get you some of that one there. And
well, you make sparkling too.
We do sparkling wines, but we don't. Matter of fact, I'm in the midst right now of talking to a gentleman. I don't know if anybody remembers Thomas Cruz out of Gilroy. He had a small winery there, and he went to France to study champagne. And so we did make some about more than that, 5-6 years ago. So we're looking at possibly starting to make some more. It's a Method Noir Champagnes, which is a traditional way to make champagne. Champagne we sell now is basically Chardonnay or bulk process, where it's not individually fermented in the bottle. So we're trying to get into something a little more quality oriented for those that like a nice, dry, full-bodied type of sparkling wine. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you also have an event site because my girlfriend got married there.
Yes.
You still have like this place in her heart that she just loves you guys. So there aren't a lot of venue-driven wineries in Santa Clara, are there?
Oh, yes.
Are there?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
I think, yeah, there are, because it's a major part of our being able to survive in the Santa Clara Valley. A resource for income coming in. Of course, this year everything has been dead. We haven't. Taste room's been closed since March. Every event we had, from weddings to concerts to this, have been canceled because we can't, as all wineries can't have that.
Right.
It's we probably, of course, we don't have as much as Napa Valley, but I know they've been decimated by the COVID infection. So, and we've been hit hard by that too. Not able to. Today we have what we call our curbside pickup. People come in, they pre-order the wine, they drive. They don't even get out of their car. We put it right in the back of their car or wherever, and then they're out of here. So, but that doesn't make up for the fact that in the past, on the weekends, where we had a full tasting room with people able to try the wines we have, enjoy the wines, and travel throughout the Santa Clara Valley and try, because there are a fair amount of wineries on the Santa Clara Valley, and that hurts all of us because we're not able to do that today.
Do you guys ship?
I beg your pardon?
You ship? Like, can I go in online and order it and you ship to me?
Oh, yeah, of course you can. Sure. You have to be able to do that today. Yes. Yeah. Yes, we have a wine club. You can order your wine. We can ship it to you as long as you're in a state that allows us to do that to you. That's no problem at all. Yes, we do a lot of shipping, actually. Yeah.
And Tell me about like a day in the life of George. Like, so I know you're the winemaker, but I've been there before when you were all over the place. So, are you an early riser? Are you in fall or?
I'm right now. We start at 7:30, and when summer comes in, it's a little lighter early. We start at 7. Yeah, I'm all over the place because my name's in the front. So that's just the way it is.
Sure.
I try to have hands on maybe on too many things, but so I'm here. I mean, this morning we came in, we bottled a little bit of wine, small lot of about 1,000 gallons, and
You have bottling line, so you're not having those big go
no,
out.
of course, no, we've always had a bottling line, yes. So we're able to bottle our own wines here. We don't need to call a truck in to line it up to do that type of things. We also do a lot of custom work for other people. We did a couple big bottlings for a couple chain stores, which amounted to quite a, thank God for that, because of the issue with COVID, not able to take in revenue from other sources. So we do that, and you do what you do. You try to take care of your customers the best you can, from my private label customers to people that just drive in the driveway for the first time and want to see who and how we operate and who we are. Yes. Yeah. That's always been a very important part of the Guglielmo Winery.
And then at dinner time, do you cook? Does your wife cook? Or you guys take out people? What do you guys have for dinner?
No takeout. No, I get home and then I do cook dinner, because it's just different.
My dad, same way. My dad is the cook.
I just love it. I was raised in our house, my mother and father and my 3 brothers. Well, I was the oldest, so sometimes my mother her mother lived in San Jose. Sometimes she wouldn't get home later, so I would cook for the family. My other brother cooks too, Gene. So we all, being Italian, we like to eat. So, we in fact all kind of create our own little things with food. Yeah.
I think I was Italian in my last life, if the Italians that like to eat.
So, in the Italian culture, food and wine are very, very, very important. Yeah. And that was carried on in us. When we were young, my grandparents lived with us in the family house, which was where the offices are. You remember where the offices were when you were here?
Up and down the stairs.
Yeah. That was the family home. My grandparents lived with us till I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
So, it was, can remember those times slightly, but I remember those, yeah.
And what wine are you grabbing with dinner? Is there one that your go-to?
Now,
or
I don't drink varietal wines every night. I use those for special occasions. If there is something, I just drink a generic red wine, whether it be mostly from Guglielmo Winery, or I'll try different wines that something like a Nebbiolo, because I wanted to make one. I wanted to try that, or a Dolcetto from Italy, just to see how they're doing and comparing to what we have here, different styles because of different grapes, different climate. So I drink wine every night with dinner.
And
yes.
so is that your claret then? That's your non-varietal wine that you were mentioning earlier?
No. We have what we call a heritage red.
Oh, okay.
Which took the place of the Burgundy and in the past, and that we bottle in gallons. So it's just another generic wine to help if you drink wine every day, you don't want to drink varietals every day. For me, I want to enjoy those varietals with a special dinner possibly. So I drink a red wine that's full-bodied, that's dry, that I can enjoy my meal with. Yeah.
I love it.
We do heritage red. We also do, 4 times a year, we did, not anymore, we did what we call a bottle your own. So we'd make a blend of about 20 barrels of wines from the state here or wherever. And we would have, people would come in on Saturday, and from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you brought your own bottles, made sure they're clean, and you fill them yourself, or your kids fill them themselves. We put the cork in, we put a label on it, and you're out of here, and you have wine to drink for the next 3 months until we do it again. It was quite popular. And of course, with the coronavirus, haven't been able to do that this year yet.
I was going to say that when the coronavirus hit, I made every meal a special meal. So I've been drinking a lot of single variety wines.
It's not every meal a special meal. You need to do those, where you can enjoy them more. Yes. Yeah. So, so we've been, really hit by the coronavirus, as I think every winery in California has been. And every person in California has been, not unique to California, not unique to the winery here, yes. So, but we'll proceed and go forward as best we can to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here, which is give you the best wines we can and go forward from there.
Well, the reason I came up with this behind the wine idea is because a lot of wineries are doing those tastings. But I was really missing this kind of dialogue, which I feel like is really important part of the experience. And I sure appreciate you telling us your story. And I know
that's only, being here as long as I have, that's probably only a quarter of the stories. Oh, I
can only imagine.
Thank you very much for asking me to do this. It's great.
Well, this was first live, right?
What's that?
This was your first live.
This is the only live.
See, I was so excited.
Yes, yeah.
And a little connection. My aunt has worked for you for a long time.
Yes, Kimberly.
Yes. And so, and then your events gal, I believe events, maybe accounting, Corey, she and I kind of up together.
You guys work together, all you Watsonville people, yes.
Yeah. So, lots of fun connection there, and I can't wait until we get back on site and get tasting some wine. But in the meantime, the link in your bio is the winery's website, and I would try to spell it for you, but I know no one here will remember. So head to their profile and go ahead and check out. That's a way that you guys can support the local wineries and the California wineries today.
Thank you.